The rain fell hard on the steel roofs of Station A9, one of the busiest alien hubs on the Outer Rim. Ships came and went like shooting stars, carrying traders, diplomats, mercenaries, and workers of every species. Lights flashed in every color. Voices echoed in dozens of strange languages. But in the middle of all this noise and movement stood a woman who looked painfully out of place. Her name was Marahale, a human in her early 30s, holding a small child wrapped in a worn blanket. Her daughter, Lena, slept calmly in her arms, unaware of the storm outside or the much bigger storm her mother faced. Mara had spent 3 days going from office to office, door to door, booth to booth, looking for a job. Any job, cleaning, lifting, sorting, repairing, it did not matter. She simply needed a way to survive on this giant alien station where humans were rare and human single mothers were even rarer. But everywhere she went, she heard the same words. No, we do not hire humans. We want stronger species. A single mother is a distraction. Find another place. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they didn't even look at her. Sometimes they only saw the child and made a face like she carried a disease. Now she stood in a long, crowded corridor, holding Lena tightly as more aliens passed her without interest. Her clothes were soaked. Her hands were shaking from exhaustion. Her eyes were red from a lack of sleep. She had sold almost everything she owned to travel here, believing she would find work easily. But the universe had been cruel. She tried one more booth, this one run by a tall, green-skinned Draxian foreman. He looked strong enough to lift a shuttle with one hand. His 4 yellow eyes scanned her slowly. "What do you want, human?" he asked. "I'm looking for any work," Mara said softly. She shifted Lena in her arms. "Please, I can clean. I can lift. I can operate basic tools." The Draxian snorted. "You bring a child. That means you bring problems. She is quiet. She never—" "Enough," he snapped. "I need workers who move fast. Workers who obey instantly. Not someone who must run home to a baby." Mara lowered her head. "I understand." He leaned closer. "Go back to your world. Human, you do not belong here." She turned away, biting her lip so she would not cry again. She walked down the hall slowly, hoping Lena did not feel her shaking. The lights above flickered. A cold breeze swept through the corridor. A group of tall, armored aliens pushed past her roughly. Mara almost lost her balance, but she held Lena tight. She had reached the end of the hallway when her legs finally weakened. She leaned against the wall and slid down the floor, exhausted. She pulled her daughter close and whispered, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm trying. I promise I'm trying." She closed her eyes for just a moment. That was when she heard a voice, calm, steady, and very different from the others. "Rough day." Mara looked up. A human man stood a few steps away, holding a metal toolbox. He looked to be in his late 30s, with worn clothes, tired eyes, and grease on his hands. He was clearly a worker, maybe even a low-level one, but he had a friendly face. "My name's John Rourke," he said. "I've seen you walk this corridor 3 times today. You looking for a job?" Mara nodded shyly. "Yes, but no one will hire me." John shrugged lightly. "Well, aliens can be idiots. So can humans, but I might know a place." Mara blinked, unsure she heard him correctly. "A place? To work?" John nodded. "Yeah, I'm part of the human engineering crew. We repair damaged cargo haulers and maintain old systems. It's not fancy. It's dirty. It's loud. But we don't turn people away for being single or a mom or human." Mara's heart raced. Would they take me? John leaned against the wall beside her. "I can't promise, but I can take you there and introduce you. We need hands. And honestly, we could use someone who looks like they know how to survive." He glanced at Lena with a gentle smile. "Is she okay?" "She's fine," Mara said. "Just tired. Like me." John offered a small nod. "Then let me help. No charge. No tricks. Sometimes the universe kicks a person too hard. Humans help humans. It's how we stay alive." Mara looked at him carefully. in a place where everyone had turned their backs on her, where aliens judged her without knowing her story. This simple human worker was the first person to speak to her with kindness. She took a deep breath. "Okay," she said. "I'll follow." John extended a hand, not to shake, but to help her stand. She hesitated, then took it. His grip was firm and warm. "Good," he said. "Let's get moving. The shift starts soon. And if you're anything like I think you are, they're going to be lucky to have you." For the first time in days, Mara felt a small spark of hope. She adjusted Lena in her arms, lifted her head, and walked beside John toward the docks, toward the chance no alien had given her, and the opportunity only one human had offered. John led Mara through a long metal walkway that stretched above the docking area. Below them, massive cargo haulers floated in their bays. Engineers, robots, and drones move around quickly, each with a job to do. Sparks flew from welding rigs. Large containers were stacked like mountains. The air smelled like oil, metal, and old machinery. It was noisy, chaotic, but alive, full of movement, full of purpose. For a moment, Mara forgot her fear and simply stared. She had never seen work like this, not on Earth, not anywhere. "Welcome to Dock Sector 12, John said, "home of the human repair team. We fix every ship that alien crews throw away." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Throw away?" John chuckled. "Aliens don't like working on old machines. Too dirty, too unpredictable. But humans, we grew up fixing broken things. It's what we're good at." Mara followed him down a staircase onto the main platform. Her boots splashed through narrow puddles of coolant. Lena woke up and looked around with big eyes, fascinated by the bright welding sparks. "Is it safe here?" Mara asked. John nodded. "Safe enough. The dangerous stuff happens behind barriers. Just stay close to me." They passed a group of human workers dragging a heavy engine core across the floor. They nodded at John, curious about the stranger walking beside him. John brought her to a modest workshop made from metal panels welded together. The sign above it read, "Human Repair Unit. Authorized personnel only." Inside, the workshop felt warmer and quieter. Tools hung on every wall. A large workbench stood in the center. Screens displayed ship diagnostics. It looked rough, but well used. A tall woman with short black hair and strong shoulders looked up from her tablet. "John, you're late," she said. "Yeah, boss, I know." John replied, "But I brought someone who might help us." The woman stepped closer, narrowing her eyes at Mara. "This your new recruit? Does she know anything about machines?" "Mara Hale," John said quickly. "Hard worker. Just needs a chance." Mara swallowed nervously. "I can learn anything," she said. "I don't give up." The woman stared at her a few seconds longer, then smiled slightly. "I'm Chief Engineer Reva Cole," she said, offering a handshake. "Any friend of John's is worth considering. We can't be picky. Half the aliens don't want to do heavy work anymore." Mara shook her hand carefully. "Thank you." Reva nodded toward Lena. "That your daughter?" "Yes." Reva thought for a moment. "We don't have a daycare here, but we do have a small break room. You can let her rest there where we can keep an eye on her. Humans look after each other." Mara felt a wave of relief. "I promise she won't cause any trouble." Reva waved a hand. "Kids aren't trouble. Broken engines are trouble. Speaking of which, John, show her the basics." John grinned. "Gladly." He handed Mara a pair of light work gloves. "First lesson, old ships don't explode unless you do something very stupid. Second lesson, don't do something very stupid." Mara laughed for the first time in days. John guided her to a half-disassembled hover engine laying on a low rack. "We're replacing the stabilizer rings. Simple but annoying work. You'll help me loosen the old bolts." Mara leaned in, studying the metal. It looked complicated, but John's instructions were clear and slow. She copied his movements, checking twice before acting. Her hands were steady. Her expression was serious. She worked with care. Reva watched from across the room. After 30 minutes, she nodded. "Not bad. You follow instructions better than half the rookies we get." Mara felt something warm rise in her chest. Pride. For the first time in a long while, someone believed she had worth. But the moment didn't last long. A loud alarm suddenly echoed across the docking zone. Red lights flashed. Workers stepped back from their machines. John frowned. That's the incoming emergency signal. Reva read the alert on her tablet. Her expression darkened. Cargo hauler 12B is coming in with unstable engines. Alien crew abandoned the ship and sent it here for emergency docking. If the stabilizers fail, it could crash into the bay. Mara stiffened. Crash. John grabbed his tool belt. We need to help secure the bay. Reva pointed at Mara. Stay here. Keep your daughter safe. But Mara stepped forward. I can help. Reva shook her head. This isn't training. This is dangerous. John glanced at Mara, then at the alarm lights. She's not wrong, boss. We need everyone, even someone to relay tools or secure loose lines. Reva hesitated, then nodded sharply. Fine, but you stay behind us. Move only when told. Mara nodded. She picked up Lena, now fully awake and scared by the alarm. John led them to a small enclosed viewing room for safety. Stay here with her, John said. You can watch, but don't go out unless someone calls you. Mara pressed her hand against the glass. Through it, she saw the massive cargo hauler shaking violently as approached. Flames flickered around its engines. Alien workers were backing away. Human workers were running forward. John looked back at her with a firm, confident expression. This is what humans do, he said. We don't run. We fix the impossible. The ship dropped toward the bay. Sparks flying, fire trailing, metal screaming. And Mara watched, feeling both fear and awe, knowing this job was going to change everything. The huge cargo hauler came in fast. Too fast. Its engine spat fire in uneven bursts, lighting up the entire docking bay with orange and blue sparks. The station trembled slightly as emergency clamps activated along the ceiling. Inside the small viewing room, Mara held Lena close. The child clung to her shirt, eyes wide and frightened. Mara wanted to look away, but she couldn't. John and the other human workers ran across the platform with cables, heavy clamps, and large magnetic anchors. Alien workers were already hiding behind barriers, afraid of the unstable ship. But the humans? They moved forward without hesitation. Reva shouted commands into her comm, her voice sharp and powerful. Team 1, guide the hauler to dock line 4. Team 2, prepare stabilizer magnets. Move, move, move. The hauler descended crookedly, tilting left. One of its side engines exploded in a shower of sparks. The blast shook the room. Lena gasped and hit her face against Mara's chest. Mara stroked her hair gently. It's okay, baby. It's okay. But she wasn't sure if that was true. The ship struck the docking rails with a harsh metallic scream. Metal bent. Sparks rained down like a storm. John and 3 others jumped aside, barely avoiding being hit by a falling panel. Mara's heart jumped into her throat. John didn't pause. He immediately hooked a cable to the ship's underside and yelled at the others to pull. More humans joined in, grabbing thick metal lines and using their whole strength to keep the hauler from sliding off the rails. Their boots dug into the floor. Their faces strained with effort. Reva barked orders again. Team 3, hit the emergency foam. Cool the engines before they melt through the hull. A pair of workers sprayed thick white foam over the burning engine. The fire dimmed but didn't completely die. The ship was still sliding, still dangerous, still seconds away from tipping and crushing everything under it. Mara felt helpless watching. She hated standing behind the glass. She wanted to run forward and help, even if she didn't know how. Anything was better than just standing there as the hauler groaned under its own weight. Then she noticed something. A cable on the left side of the ship, one of the most important stabilizing lines, was loose. It whipped violently with every shake of the hauler. If it snapped free completely, the entire ship would tilt and collapse. Mara's eyes widened. Why isn't anyone grabbing that? She whispered. Nobody seemed to see it. Everyone was focused on the sliding hull, except her. Her heart raced. She looked at Lena. She looked at the loose line. She looked at John struggling to keep the ship steady, and she made her decision. Mara grabbed Lena and rushed to the door. She pressed the intercom button. Open it. A human guard on the other side frowned. Ma'am, stay inside. This area is not safe. I can help, she shouted. The cable on the left. No one sees it. It's coming loose. The guard blinked, then looked over her shoulder at the scene. His eyes widened. You're right, he muttered. He hit the door release. Mara ran out with Lena still in her arms. The noise hit her like a wave. Engines screaming, metal grinding, alarms echoing. She smelled burning wires and hot steam, but she didn't stop. She ran straight toward John. He looked up, shocked. Mara, what are you doing out here? She pointed at the cable. It's loose. John turned and saw it, just as the line snapped from its hook and whipped across the floor like a giant metal snake. Riva, John yelled into his comm. We need a manual anchor. Left side. Riva cursed loudly. I can't spare anyone. Everyone is holding the main tilt. John grabbed Mara's arm. Get back to safety. But she shook her head. I can hold the line. John stared at her like she had lost her mind. That line weighs more than a car. I don't care. Just tell me what to do. For a moment, John looked like he wanted to argue. Then he saw something in her eyes, something strong, determined, unbreakable. He nodded. Okay, follow me. They ran to the thrashing cable. John grabbed the end and braced his legs. Hold Lena tight. When I say now, grab the lower clamp and keep it steady. Mara shifted Lena to one arm, securing her tightly with her elbow. Her other hand reached for the clamp. John shouted, Now! She grabbed the clamp with her free hand. The cable shook wildly, almost pulling her off her feet. The weight felt impossible. Her muscles screamed. Her knees trembled. But she didn't let go. For Lena, for herself, for the humans who gave her a chance. John attached a magnetic anchor to the cable. Mara held it steady long enough for him to slam the lock into place. The cable clamped down. The hauler stopped sliding. The entire bay went still for a moment. Riva shouted, Stabilizers locked. Good work, team. The danger was finally over. Mara collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, still clutching Lena. John knelt beside her, sweat dripping from his forehead. He looked at her with shock and respect. You're not just a worker, he said quietly. You're one of us. Mara didn't know what to say. She only held her daughter close as cheers erupted around the room. Human workers clapped each other on the back, and several of them looked at Mara with new eyes, not as a burden, not as a stranger, but as someone who stepped into danger and faced it like a true human. The docking bays slowly returned to normal. Emergency lights faded from red to yellow, then finally to steady white. The fire foam cooled the last burning section of the engine. A handful of alien officials peeked out from behind barriers, watching the humans finish what they themselves had been too afraid to do. Mara still sat on the floor, catching her breath. Lena lay curled against her, small arms wrapped around her mother's neck. The child was trembling, but unharmed. John stood up and offered his hand. Mara took it, and he helped her rise to her feet. You all right? He asked gently. Mara nodded, though her legs still shook. I think so. You did something incredible, he said. Most trained workers wouldn't have run toward danger like that. Mara gave a tired smile. I didn't think. I just saw what needed to be done. That's why you fit here. John said. Humans fix what others won't. Riva approached them. She had grease on her face, fire marks on her jacket, and a serious expression. But her eyes held something new, deep respect. You disobeyed orders, she said bluntly. Mara stiffened. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I only... Riva raised one hand. Stop. Let me finish. Mara swallowed. Riva stepped closer. You disobeyed orders, but you saved the dock. If that line had snapped fully, the ship would have dropped. We could have lost workers. Maybe even the entire bay. Mara looked down, unsure what to say. Riva continued. You saw something the rest of us missed. You acted fast. You risked your life while holding your daughter. That isn't just courage. That's instinct. That's heart. Riva's expression softened. If you want a job here, you're hired. Mara gasped. For a moment, she couldn't speak. The words felt unreal, too good to be true. Are you sure? She whispered. Riva crossed her arms. Absolutely. You won't be doing heavy engine work yet. We'll train you. You'll start with tool management and safety duties. And we'll set up a small cot for Lena in the break room. Humans take care of our own. Mara's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Truly. John smiled warmly. Welcome to the crew. But the moment of happiness didn't last long. Across the bay, a group of alien supervisors walked toward them. They wore sharp uniforms made of silver cloth, and their tall frames and narrowed eyes showed they weren't here to congratulate anyone. Their leader, an insect-like RTH officer with a thin jaw, clicked his mandibles sharply. You humans cause a violation, he hissed. Riva rolled her eyes. Here we go. You allowed an untrained civilian to enter the work zone during an emergency, the officer continued. This breaks Station Code 47. Subsection. John interrupted. We save your docking bay. You're welcome. The RTH bristled. You also endanger the property of the station. Mara stepped forward before she could stop herself. Sir, with respect, your workers ran away. The humans stayed. If they hadn't, the ship would have crashed. Several humans behind her murmured in agreement. The alien supervisor glared at her. You are not authorized to speak. Riva's voice sharpened. She's part of my team now. She can speak. The supervisor's antennae twitched with annoyance. We are filing a report. A large one. Expect fines. Possibly loss of work privileges. John muttered under his breath. They love paperwork more than oxygen. The RTH officer marched away, his group following behind him. Riva sighed. Ignore him. We deal with this type often. They complain about everything, but they always call us when their ships break. Mara frowned. Won't they punish you? Probably, Riva said casually. But we'll appeal. Humans are stubborn. We don't lose arguments easily. John tapped Mara's shoulder. Don't worry about them. Focus on tomorrow, your first real day. Mara looked around the dock. The sparks, the tools, the engines, the humans working hard despite threats, danger, or alien complaints. Somehow this loud, messy place already felt more like home than any world she had lived on. Okay, she said softly. I'll be ready. That night, Riva gave Mara a small corner room near the workshop. It wasn't fancy, just a narrow bed, a tiny heater, and a metal shelf. But to Mara, it felt like a palace. Lena lay on the bed, wrapped in the same blanket as before. She was finally asleep, her breathing calm. Mara stood by the heater, watching her daughter with a peaceful smile. Today had been terrifying, exhausting, dangerous. But she had done something she didn't know she could do. She belonged here. She had value again. Suddenly, a soft beep sounded at the door. John stepped inside, holding a portable lantern. Thought you might need this, he said. Lights around this part of the dock flicker during night cycle. Mara accepted it. Thank you for everything today. John rubbed the back of his neck. Hey, you saved me too. If that ship had tilted another few degrees. Well, let's just say I wouldn't be standing here. Their eyes met. For a moment, the noisy dock felt quiet. John looked away first. Get some rest. Big training day tomorrow. He walked out, leaving Mara with the soft glow of the lantern. She took a deep breath and sat beside Lena, brushing the child's hair. You see, little one, she whispered. Someone gave us a chance. And tomorrow we earn it. Morning came early on Dock Sector 12. Soft yellow lights replaced the flickering night lamps, and the sound of machinery echoed through the halls again. Mara woke with Lena still curled beside her, warm and peaceful. For a moment, she just held her daughter and breathed slowly. Yesterday she was lost. Today she had a job. Tomorrow, who knew? She rose quietly, got dressed, and checked the small note Riva had slipped under her door. Report to workshop at 600 hours. Training day. Mara smiled. She stepped out into the corridor with Lena in her arms. The air smelled of metal and oil, strangely comforting now. The workshop buzzed with activity when she arrived. John was sorting tools into neat piles, humming a quiet tune. Riva typed fiercely into her console. Other human workers prepared wires, wheel units, and handheld scanners. John looked up first. "Morning, Rookie." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Rookie, you earned the nickname," he said with a grin. Riva turned. "Good. You're early. Let me show you your duties." She walked Mara around the workshop, pointing at each station. "This is the tool storage area. You'll sort equipment by size and type. Over here is the parts register. You'll scan everything that comes in or out. And this is the safety cabinet. You'll check suit seals, emergency masks, and shock gloves. Nobody fixes ships without them." Mara nodded, absorbing every word. And Riva added, "You'll help keep the workspace clean. A clean workshop saves lives." Mara felt a bit embarrassed. She had expected something more exciting, but she understood. Everyone had to start somewhere. "Later, we'll teach you more," Riva said. "But first, show us you can handle the basics." Mara smiled. "I can." Hours passed quickly. Mara sorted heavy tools, polished protective visors, labeled worn-out parts, and learned how to operate the handheld scanner. John checked on her often, offering tips or jokes. "You label everything too neatly," he teased. "You're going to make the rest of us look lazy." Mara laughed softly. "I'm just trying to help." "You're doing more than that," John said. "You're fitting in." By midday, even Lena had settled comfortably in the break room. Two older workers, Sarah and Milo, played with her during lunch. "She's cute," Sarah said. "Reminds me of my niece back on Titan." "She's trouble," Milo added with a smile. "Pulled my beard earlier." Mara laughed. For the first time in months, Lena was safe and surrounded by friendly faces. Everything felt like it was finally going right. But peace never lasted long on a station like A9. The trouble arrived in the form of a tall, sharp-looking alien with red-tinted armor, the same RTH officer who had complained yesterday. He marched straight into the workshop, without permission. Riva groaned. "Not again." The RTH hissed at her. "You humans think you saved the station yesterday, but your actions cause new problems." John crossed his arms. "What problems?" The alien pointed at Mara. Mara froze. She entered a restricted area. She interfered with a dangerous operation. She was not authorized, trained, or registered. And now your team wants to hire her? This is unacceptable. Riva stepped forward. "She did what your workers were too scared to do." "That is irrelevant." The RTH snapped. "If she stays here, the station will increase inspections. There will be fines, penalties, and possibly shutdowns." John muttered, "They're just trying to push humans out again." Riva whispered back, "I know." The alien officer's voice grew cold. "I'm giving you one chance. Remove her from your team. Send her away, or face consequences." Mara felt her throat tighten. "Sir, I only wanted to help. I didn't mean to break any rules." He glared at her. "You humans always say that, but you bring chaos everywhere. This is why no alien hires your kind." The words struck her hard, not because they were new, but because she had heard them her whole life. Before John or Riva could respond, a deep, metallic alarm sounded across the station. Riva checked her console instantly. "Incoming distress call. Ship collision in the outer ring." John's eyes widened. "Outer ring? That's far. They need every worker available." The RTH snarled. "That area is under my jurisdiction. You humans would not interfere." But the alarm cut him off again, louder this time. Riva's screen flashed red. "Hull breach detected. Multiple injuries. Human crew requested." The officer spun around. "Impossible. Why would they?" Riva smirked. "Because we're the only ones who can handle emergency repairs fast enough." John grabbed his gear. "Riva, we go?" "Of course we go," she snapped. Then she turned to Mara. "You too." Mara blinked. "Me?" "You got sharp eyes. Reva said. "And you don't freeze when things go wrong. You're coming with us." The RETH officer clicked angrily. "She is not authorized." Reva stepped close until she was nose to nose with him. "She's coming. File all the reports you want." The alien hissed in fury, but he could do nothing as the humans rushed out the door. John tossed Mara a small tool bag. "Stay behind me. Watch. Learn. And when you see something important, shout." Mara held the bag tightly. Her heart beat fast. She wasn't just watching anymore. She was part of the team. As they ran toward the outer ring, alarms blaring above them, Mara whispered to Lena's empty cot in the break room. "Mommy's not scared anymore." Mark stood with Rena and Lyra as the chamber doors slowly closed behind them. The tall metal panels sealed with a deep echo that rolled through the hall like thunder. Rena still held Lyra close, her arms wrapped protectively around her daughter's small shoulders. The child stayed quiet, but her fingers clutched tightly at her mother's sleeve. She was scared, but she also trusted her mother, and she trusted Mark. As they walked deeper into the long passage, strange lights flickered above them. The glow changed from blue to green every few steps, creating a strange rhythm. It almost felt like the ship was breathing around them. Rena could feel the tension in her chest. She did not want to show fear, but the unknown always had a sharp way of entering her heart. Mark walked slightly ahead, scanning every angle. His jaw was tight. He did not like how the guard commander had spoken. He did not like how the aliens had looked at Rena and Lyra, as if they were already a problem, already someone to blame. He stopped at a crossway and turned back. "Stay close," he said quietly. "I don't trust them." Rena gave a small nod. "I know, but we have to go through this. If aliens in this region start thinking I am part of a threat, I won't be able to survive here, Mark. Not with Lyra." He didn't argue. He simply placed himself on her right side, closer to danger. A few moments later, the three of them entered a large, circular room. A floating table in the center projected a light map of the colony. Small red marks pulsed across the hologram. A tall alien officer approached. His skin was silver and his movements were slow, like someone thinking carefully about every gesture. "You are Rena Hale," he said. "A human, a single mother, and recently hired by Mark Solon." Rena kept her eyes steady. "Yes, that is correct. You understand why we are investigating you." "I understand," she said calmly, "but I am not part of anything dangerous." The officer studied her, looking for any hint of a lie. Then he turned toward Mark. "And you are the human who recommended her." "Yes," Mark answered. "And if you are hoping I will doubt her, forget it." The room became quiet. Even the holomap seemed to dim. The officer's eyes narrowed. "Interesting. Humans often protect their own. But this one," he looked back at Rena, "this one does not even belong to your facility. She has no family, no connections, nothing to offer you." Mark stepped forward. "She works hard. She supports her daughter alone. She shows more honor than half the people I meet. That is enough." Rena felt a warm sting in her chest. Lyra looked up at Mark with wide eyes, almost surprised at how confident he sounded. But the officer did not seem moved. "There was an energy trace in your home," he continued. "A strange signal. It does not fit human technology." Rena's heart jumped. "Energy trace? Signal? I don't know anything about that." The officer raised one long finger and a screen lit up, showing a soft purple glow inside Rena's rented room. Rena stared at it, confused. That isn't mine." "And yet it is there," the officer replied. "Your daughter lives in that room as well." He approached Lyra slowly. "Child, did you see anything unusual?" Lyra pressed herself against her mother's side. She didn't answer. Her small hands trembled. Mark immediately stepped between the officer and the girl. "Enough. She's a child. You question Rena, not her." The officer didn't like that, but he didn't push further. Instead, he turned to a console and tapped a few buttons. A different hologram appeared, this time showing a small device lying under the bed. Sleek, metallic, not human. Rena's eyes widened. "That wasn't there yesterday. I cleaned the whole room. Someone planted it," Mark said firmly. Someone wants her blamed. The officer studied him. You speak with certainty. Because I know her, Mark said, and because she's being targeted. Someone who doesn't want her here. Someone who doesn't want humans helping each other. Rena lowered her eyes. The truth hurt. She knew aliens disliked her, but she never imagined someone would try to ruin her life like this. The officer considered Mark's words, then turned toward the guards. Bring the device here. 2 guards rushed out. Silence filled the room. Rena pulled Lyra closer, gently stroking her hair. Mark stood beside them, shoulders squared, ready for whatever came next. After a minute, the guards returned, but not with the device. Instead, one guard carried a wounded alien cadet. The other held a cracked communicator. Sir, one guard said breathlessly, we caught him, trying to retrieve the hidden transmitter. Rena's breath stopped. Lyra gasped softly. The officer's eyes sharpened. Who is he? A worker from the docking zone. The guard said. He was paid by someone to frame the human woman. Mark's fists clenched. I knew it. The officer turned to Rena, and for the first time, his voice softened slightly. It seems you were telling the truth. Rena exhaled shakily. Her knees almost weakened, but she stayed firm for Lyra's sake. But the officer wasn't finished. This is only part of the story, he said. The cadet refused to name who hired him, and that means danger still follows you. Mark stepped forward. Then we'll face it. Together. Rena looked at him and saw not just an employer, but someone who stood beside her even when the entire alien station turned against her. For the first time in a long time, she felt she wasn't alone. The chamber felt heavier after the wounded cadet was taken away. Rena held Lyra close, still shaken by the discovery. Mark stayed beside them, tense and alert, his eyes scanning the room again and again. He knew this wasn't over. Someone powerful had ordered the setup, someone who wanted Rena gone, or worse. The alien officer moved around the hollow table, tapping slowly. Red warnings blinked on the display again. The cadet says nothing, he informed them. He refuses to speak. But someone paid him in advance credits, far too many for a simple sabotage job. Mark frowned. So this was organized. Very organized, the officer said, and that means the real threat is still close. Rena's voice was soft. Why me? I am no one. I only wanted honest work. The officer turned to her, his silver eyes calm but serious. Sometimes the quiet ones attract dangerous attention without even trying. Rena lowered her eyes. Lyra hugged her leg tightly. Suddenly, the lights above flickered. Once, twice, then turned bright red. An alarm rang through the entire station. Mark spun around. What now? A robotic voice echoed through the hall. Security breach in Sector 9. Unauthorized exit detected. Suspect escaping. The officer's expression sharpened. It is him. The cadet. Someone helped him escape custody. Rena felt her heart drop again. So he wasn't alone. Before the officer could answer, the doors at the far end slammed open. A tall alien worker, someone Rena recognized from the dock, ran inside with a weapon in his hand. Mark reacted first. Get behind me. Rena pulled Lyra close and moved against the wall. The alien pointed the weapon at the officer, then at Rena. You should have stayed quiet, human, he hissed. You should have left this colony. You don't belong here. Mark stepped between them, blocking the shot with his body. You want her, Mark growled. You go through me. The alien snarled and fired. A bright pulse shot across the room. Mark grabbed a metal panel from a nearby console and blocked the blast. The impact shook his arm, but he didn't fall. The officer shouted, Guards, now! But the attacker rushed toward Rena instead, desperate and fast. Rena turned, shielding Lyra with her own body. Stay down, she whispered to her daughter. Mark moved like lightning. He threw the metal panel aside, charged forward, and tackled the alien worker to the ground. They crashed hard, sliding across the floor. The alien fought wildly, scratching and swinging, trying to break free. You humans don't know your place, he shouted. Mark slammed his fist into the alien's arm. forcing him to drop the weapon. "Oh, I know my place," Mark said through clenched teeth. "My place is protecting them." Rena watched with fear and hope mixing together. She had never seen someone fight for her like this. The guards finally rushed in and restrained the attacker, pulling him away. The alien kicked and hissed, but could not escape again. The officer approached Rena slowly. "You and your daughter are safe for now." Rena nodded, breathing fast. Lyra peeked out from behind her mother's coat. Will they hurt Mommy again?" Lyra asked in a tiny voice. The officer shook his head. "No, child. We will protect her." Mark walked back toward them, brushing dust from his clothes. His cheek was scratched, but he still smiled softly. "You okay?" he asked Rena. She nodded again, but her voice trembled. "I think so. You saved us." Mark looked down at Lyra and gave her a small smile. "Of course I did." The officer cleared his throat. "The attacker has confessed. He belongs to a group that believes humans are a danger to alien jobs. They wanted to scare you away permanently." Rena closed her eyes. "All because I wanted to work. All because you succeeded." The officer corrected her. "You were not the weak one. They were afraid of you." Rena felt something change inside her, like a quiet strength rising after years of silence. The officer turned to Mark. "Your decision to hire her was wise. You trusted correctly." Mark gave a simple nod. "Told you." The officer folded his arms. "Rena Hale, if you wish, you may file a report for full protection. We will ensure no one harms you or your child again. The Colony Council will hear your case." Rena looked down at Lyra, who held her hand tightly. For the first time, Rena felt something her life rarely gave her, a real sense of future. She looked at Mark. "But something tells me you planned for this." Mark smiled. "I didn't plan it. I just knew who you were." Rena felt her eyes warm, not from fear this time, but from gratitude. The officer gave his final words. "Your strength has been tested, human mother, and you stood firm." Mark added softly, "You didn't stand alone." Rena looked at the two of them, the protective guard, the loyal friend, and her brave little daughter. In that moment, she understood something simple but powerful. She belonged here, not because aliens allowed it, not because she was desperate, but because she had earned her place, with dignity, with struggle, with courage, and with a human who believed in her when no one else did.